Hello hunters, welcome back to the channel. Update 1.021 has dropped a week ago now, and with it came weapon improvements. Most pertinent for us here, the updates to the lance. Between the thought of putting a lance tutorial together and the patch notes that came out prior to the release, I compiled a spreadsheet with data regarding damage values and how this update has affected them. Today, let's take a look at the elements that patch 1.021 changed and what that means for the lance. First off, I haven't really ever done a video like this, or the math for a video like this. While I will be using percent changes between attacks pre and post patch, my values may be off to some degree. Regardless of the precise accuracy of each value I say, know that in general this patch was a buff for the lance. Every move I discuss has increased in damage, whether raw or elemental, and I don't want players to get hung up on the exact numbers. Remember, if you did 1 damage, and now you do 2 damage, that is a 100% increase, which sounds impressive, but really isn't. You will see in the following clips the actual damage done to the target dummy, and I implore you to keep that in mind, perhaps even more so than the percentages. My math may be a little off, but the damage values in-game don't lie. So let's take a look at the patch notes in order and see exactly what we're working with. To preface this, I did not use any items, I didn't eat meals that affected attack, and I did not have armor skills, weapon skills, or the charms in my inventory. The weapons used were the Ardian weapon, Skyscraper, with 220 raw, and the elemental weapon, the Purifying Bowmanes, which shares the 220 raw but with 350 dragon element. Starting off, damage taken while in Power Guard has been further reduced. Looking here, we can see the same hit applied pre and post patch. The damage from a medium hit has been reduced fairly significantly. The health bar is only reduced to where previously the red bar would be. This is a small difference to compare, so while I won't commit a specific percentage, know that taking a blockable hit while in Power Guard does much less chip damage. Raw and elemental damage is increased for Retribution Thrust if it is performed following a perfect guard. The interesting thing here is Retribution Thrust can be achieved 2 ways beyond what was listed in the line item, off of a power guard or regular guard by pressing Y and B. Seemingly, even when not off of a perfect guard, Retribution Thrust received a 33% raw increase in the first hit with no change in the secondary hit. Off of a perfect guard, the 33% on the first hit is joined by a 5% buff in the second hit, with the difference between pre and post weapons with element close to 25 and 10% respectively. This one hits a lot of attacks, so let's break it down one at a time. Wide Sweep has a 15 to 16% damage increase. Reverse Attack has increased 15 to 17%. If you are moving at full speed when doing the Reverse Attack, it's a much larger 40% increase. Finishing Thrust received a 10 to 12% buff. And finishing Twin Thrust is a little more involved. The attack has 2 hits, and the changes between raw and element are interesting. The first raw strike did not change in damage, while the second hit has an extra 16 or 17% damage. But looking at the differences when using an elemental weapon, pre and post patch, the first hit is just shy of an 8% increase, and the second hit is just over 20%. As for Counter Rush, because I can't simulate the Stalwart guard and the following Counter Rush in a training environment, I don't have hard numbers for how much it improved. Because there are only 3 monsters that can activate Stalwart guard, the number of times this move will even present itself are few and far between. So it's interesting that the developers decided to buff this move at all. Perhaps us shielded weapons should be prepared for an additional monster to have the capacity to initiate this technique. A non-damage related change, the charge counter can now be comboed into off of a guard or perfect guard, so long as the hit taken only has minimal knockback. This allows for more and better options when attempting to guard moves that have consecutive hits. Another multi-change, the entire mid-thrust combo, including the triple thrust, has had elemental damage boosted. The first 2 hits, mid-thrust 1 and 2, have 3.5% more elemental damage, while the third hit is closer to 5.5%. These numbers are mirrored in the triple thrust, as the first hits are under 4% with the final hit just over 5%. The return thrust has either a 3 or 5% increase depending on if it's done off of a guard or a perfect guard. Okay, so clearly Capcom wanted to just blanket buff the Lance as we have 5 more moves buffed. However, Payback and Grand Retribution have varying damage based on charge level when performed. Payback Thrust received between a 24 and 26% increase on the first hit, depending on charge level, while the second hit is between 37 and 40%. An odd outlier is when it is performed after a perfect guard, as now the first hit has a 33% increase and the second is 39%. Grand Retribution Thrust is much more of a flat upgrade, as no matter the charge level, the first hit was buffed 11% and the second hit increased 33%, and the last hit did not change. The high thrust combo buff translates to almost a 7% damage increase in both attacks 1 and 2, with an 8% on the third hit. The remaining changes are not directly damage alterations, but instead changes to either hitboxes, distance traveled, or combo changes. Retribution Thrust has a larger hitbox after the update. If you input a direction with Leaping Thrust, Return Thrust, or Payback Thrust, your hunter will cover more ground. Wide Sweep can now transition faster into a follow-up attack, specifically mid-thrust, high thrust, and to a lesser extent dash attack, cementing it as a solid choice for a second hit on the standard Y or B combo. When using Focus Strike Victory Thrust, sharpness is not degraded as quickly. Using the Seregios Lance, the amount of sharpness consumed seems to be almost halved. Where prior to the patch, 8 hits and 4 Focus Strikes would result in blue sharpness, now 14 hits and 7 Focus Strikes results in the same. Lance, being a guarding weapon, can perform the Power Clash, but new to 1.021, the Power Clash can be followed up with the attacks that normally were found behind the guard or perfect guard: Return Thrust, Payback Thrust, or Retribution Thrust. And to round out the changes, a bug with Power Guard was fixed when transitioning to a Stalwart guard, and another bug was fixed for guarding attacks while moving. Between the scarcity of situations where Stalwart Guard activates and the few times I would be moving while guarding, I may not have noticed these changes, but they are important all the same. The final note that I feel is important for Lance is an item listed under the skill changes. Shock Absorber will now prevent allies from triggering guarding abilities. This is a godsend for Lancers, as we rely on guarding for many counterattacks, and having this no longer broken by an ally attacking too close or at too steep of an angle makes our combos flow with much more reliability. This change with this one skill almost offsets all the changes to the Lance directly. Almost. Maybe. Not really. Anyway, let me know if I missed something or if you need clarification by leaving me a comment. If you want to see more, subscribe or consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Our next episode is one that was voted on by the supporters, so think about joining so you too can have a voice on the direction of the channel. And leave me a like if you think I earned it. Until next time, may your RNG be kind and the desire sensor be blind. Goodbye for now, but not for long.